and welcome back to Shit They Don't Tell You. I'm Nikki Limo, and this is my husband and co-host, Steve Green.
Your adoring husband and co-host, Steve Green.
My adoring husband and co-host, Steve Green. He's adoring me so profusely.
You ever hear people do that?
What?
Like my adoring wife.
No.
Oh.
I don't hear people.
Okay.
As I was trying to figure out what topic to do today for Shit They Don't Tell You, I like to... Typically, my process is I like to draw on something that I have recently been reading or looking at or revisiting or whatever, and also
rabbit holes, perhaps.
Sometimes rabbit holes, but thank you for trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Cool.
Not today. Today, a rabbit hole for me is like when you start off one direction and then you end up going on like several different tangents, and where you end up is nowhere close to where you started. For me,
that happens to me a lot.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot too. But what I was trying to do today when I was coming up with the topic was I was trying to visit things that I had recently looked at to do a topic on for Shit They Don't Tell You. And I realized I looked at so many things today and recently that I had no idea what to do a topic on. And so when I looked at all the things that I've been reading and watching and listening to, I was like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Because I try to pass it through some criteria of, is this something I think is interesting and relevant today? Mm-hmm. 2, is it something that I wish I would have fucking known? Mm-hmm. And 3, is it something that I've gone through to speak on it and tell people my personal experiences on some shit that I wish I would have known.
And for me, it's like, what does that have to do with John Travolta?
Yes.
If it's very little, I'm out. Mm-hmm. What does it have to do with Nicolas Cage? If it's very little, I'm out.
And hey, sometimes we do some one-off episodes where like I'm just like, hey, here's some random facts that I found out during quarantine.
I love that one.
I know, it's great. No, I like it. But when I was trying to think of a topic like that I wanted to just delve into.
Yeah.
And anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I looked at so many different videos, and this is the reject pile, which I think are good topics. Don't get me wrong. I think they're good topics, but I don't think they're like an hour's worth of conversation topics to talk about. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Zigzagging. But I had already decided for you that they were not. So instead of not doing them, I'm just doing all of them.
So you know what? You know what the problem is that you're not pitching it right.
Oh, okay.
This is an abundance of wealth.
Okay.
That you're getting.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Abundance of wealth. So I started the day off looking at Instagram, and one of the people I follow who has actually appeared on our podcast, his name is Mark Manson. He's the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and Everything is Fucked. Mm-hmm. And he has great Instagram posts. They're usually something philosophical or something to ponder on, you know, and done in a very relatable fashion. And the thing that I stumbled upon today was... what things we should give fewer fucks about. 1, winning arguments over the internet. You're usually wrong.
So true.
2, the latest big scary thing on the news, TM. It's usually wrong.
True.
And 3, people's assumptions about you. They're usually wrong.
I love that.
I love it too. It's just so... He's great. He should be a writer.
I think he should.
He should write things that help people.
You know, when he left, I was like, I wish we were close personal friends.
Me too. But I feel that when I read his book too, I'm like, he's just like Steve.
Why can't we be friends?
They would get along so well.
I wish he just didn't even give me a chance.
And it's not even this like echo chamber type of friendship where I'm like, he has the same exact views on us. What I like about him is that his whole philosophy is becoming friends with people that have all different types of perspectives. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do.
We love it.
And I like it. I feel like it makes a really well-rounded, centered person.
I just feel like if I had one more shot, he would really want to be my friend.
Yeah, same. I think if his wife was here, then it wouldn't be so awkward.
Yeah,
you know, because like she'd have someone to talk to, he'd have someone to talk to. No, it's just not one person talking to 2 people.
Like,
you
hey,
know?
You want to go to dinner afterward? And he's like, oh yeah, you know that could be cool. Like I got my wife here.
Yeah, exactly. And like she might like, and I feel like I would really, I'd probably get along with his wife too. Like we'd probably have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
And
her.
I'm like, hey, let me get another round. No, it's on us. Yeah. No. Hey, when the bill comes, no.
It's on us. We fucking got it like that. Yeah. So that was the first thing I saw today. The second thing is I got on my treadmill and I watched 2 videos from Graham Stephan. Shout out. Do you like his channel?
Financial man.
He's not. I guess he does talk a lot about finances, but what his story is he became a millionaire by age like 26 or 21 or so. I don't remember, but like something in young 20s, he became a millionaire. And it was through real estate investing initially, and then he also invests in stocks and stuff. But he is very down to earth and has very practical ways of how everybody can essentially, like, theoretically
how they
become.
can buy crypto.
No.
Oh, okay.
But they could theoretically become a millionaire. But he does actually talk about how there is a luck factor involved, like just the right place, right time type of thing. But as we've said before on this show, and it's not my original quote, but I mean, it came from somewhere, but luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
So as long as you're prepared for something, then when the opportunity arises, you will have a similar amount of luck. And anyway, it was about real estate investing, and I was like, should we do a topic on investing? But then I was like, I haven't actually done any real estate investing besides buying our own house. But
True. That is an investment.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but
because we could rent it out or whatever.
I mean, yes, but I'm talking about like future real estate investing and all the things. I only know what he's told me. I had no personal experiences to speak from, but I thought the topic was really interesting. And if I do get into real estate investing, or if we do venture into any sort of investing and then have success or failure from it, I would love to do a topic on it.
Well, we've had a lot of success with cryptocurrency. I'll tell you that.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, all the time.
Maybe you should do an episode on it.
I'll do another one. I'll do a third.
Episode.
Okay, I'll do it. There are actually some really cool developments in the space, so yeah, I'll do one soon.
Okay, I believe you. Then the third thing I did, which I don't have a reference point for right now, but I got off my treadmill and I read my book. The book I'm currently reading is The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. I don't know if he goes by Tim Ferriss or Timothy Ferriss. That's why
Somehow we'll make it.
I formally said Timothy, but I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, so the chapter that I read today was about quality time. Like basically, if you have free time, but it's occupied by distractions, then it's not really free time because you're neither doing something productive nor relaxing.
Yep.
Right? And I find myself constantly trapped in that position. When I designate free time, which is what my therapist told me to do, and also my nutritionist told me to do, is to designate free time where I'm not working.
Because of stress.
Right. Because I overstress myself,
Yes.
and I will work forever if I don't do something about designated
you have to
time.
schedule in free time.
So what I found very interesting, or my challenge with that, was that I would schedule the free time, and then I'd be in that free block of time, but I felt icky. Like, I'm like, maybe I'm just not good at relaxing. You know, I can't relax. I'm just feeling bad that I'm not working, and also feeling bad that I can't relax. And it ends up being, I wasted 2 hours trying to have free time. I don't know how you fail at free time. And I've never heard anybody talk about it until I read this chapter of this book. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel. So his whole theory is to have set times to check email. Do not check email before 10 a.m. I would say you could even, depending on your job, you can maybe go till 11 or 12.
Oh, shit.
But don't check email first thing in the morning, because even if it just takes 15 minutes to check your email, those thoughts or any emotions you felt from it, or any like frustrations or anger or whatever, they stay lingering in your head. And so it's not really 15 minutes, because you're thinking of what to respond to them. You're thinking of when to respond to them. You're thinking if they're responding back to you. You're thinking of what they're going to respond with. It's cluttering your mind without you even thinking about it. And even if you're like, okay, I'm going to forget about it now and do this other thing, like, you're still subconsciously thinking about it.
Sometimes I'll send an email and then I'll even go to my sent folder and reread it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how that distracts you. But you're like, did I do that right? Was that wordly correctly?
I set aside like 20 minutes for email, but it always takes longer than that.
Yeah, it can. It really can.
Yeah. And so his thing is having your free time be before email, before you consume media, before like any of that. And
that's good.
Like,
I like that.
Having like, and also doing like one item off your productivity list before you. So you do one item off your productivity list. You have your free time, so that's cleared. You're done with that. You don't have to be thinking about that high priority item. You already got like most of your priorities done, and then you have your free time, and then you check your email and do like social media or whatever, so that it doesn't clutter your head and take from your free time. Right. So you could truly relax.
I like that.
I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. But I was like, can I do a whole topic on that? No, because I haven't really tested it out yet.
You're fine.
But there's some food for thought.
Put the gun down. Kick it away. You're fine.
I know. That's why we're compiling all of the things.
I got it.
I can't do just one topic. Now we're doing all of the topics.
Okay, let's do them all.
So that was another thing that happened today. And then I went and watched a bunch of YouTube videos to kind of just try to find like, what's something I want to talk about today. And I don't usually do this actually. I don't usually like go look to videos for a topic. Usually a topic is just on my mind and I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the week. But for some reason on this particular day of recording, I'm like, yeah, there's like no topics and there's also too many topics.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this on the way over here. We're also spread a little thin sometimes.
Right now during quarantine especially.
Yeah, because you're not having as many experiences.
Yeah.
And so what can you talk about other than everyone's binge watching the same shit?
Right.
And so it's like, yo.
And everyone's in quarantine and everyone's sick of talking about quarantine.
Yeah. So exactly. So
and
how,
then
how much richness can you have in a conversation?
Exactly. And then also there's several different similar type platform shows that we do. So yesterday I filmed a whole day of Big Mood, or we recorded a Big Mood podcast, our competitor.
Chief competitor.
Yeah. And so I had to prep two different topics for that podcast. And then we have today's podcast shoot day, and we do multiple episodes. And then in a day from now, I'm doing a whole day of JK News where
tomorrow.
I have to talk about different topics. And I'm just like, how many topics can I even talk about? I don't know.
This is why I really believe in watching a movie a day.
Yeah.
Because
some sort of outside stimulation.
Yeah, it gives you some other frame of reference point.
Yes.
Yeah. I really have always believed in that. That's my favorite improv coach, Billy Merritt.
Yeah.
Taught me that.
It's in the UCB manual or handbook or whatever that.
They didn't have it back then.
Oh.
But this is like 2007 or 8. But yeah, he told me to do that. I did it. It was a fucking bountiful harvest that year for improv tree things to have. Yeah. I call it my improv tree.
Talking to a variety of people, listening to a variety of things, watching movies.
Scenarios, tropes, characters. The types of people that you see, the types of actions that happen in between relationships.
And there's usually themes in movies, so it's like you got that, like, oh, I'm really focused on this theme today.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. So yeah, I don't know. Today was just like a I don't know, guys. So then I thought that was really interesting. I found like a lot of interesting nuggets today, just not a whole topic. I've already said that a million times, so I'm sorry about that.
Just say it one more time.
I found a lot of topics.
Yeah. That was good.
Okay, so then a video popped up in my YouTube feed that was your true self versus your false self. I'm like, ooh, I love me some fucking psychological shit.
Yeah, we love that on the
Give
show.
me nom 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 nom.
Yep. We're big
So
fans.
I watched it was like a 7-minute video from School of Life, I believe was the channel. And it was true self versus false self. And basically it was about how there are a lot of unhappy adults, and sometimes they don't know why they're unhappy because they're constantly putting on this false self because they weren't ever able to express their true self. So some people don't even know what that is. And they're like, their false self is the societally acceptable form of themselves, to have manners and to behave a certain way in public and to hide your certain emotions because they're uncomfortable for people, and to not throw tantrums and list goes. You can't do that. You can't.
Okay.
That's weird.
That's my false self.
It's weird. No, that your true self was coming out. You were going blah, 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 blah. No.
Okay.
People don't like that.
I'll be my
That's
fake
not a
self
form
who
of
doesn't do that.
conversation.
Okay.
Wasn't a real language. That wasn't English. That wasn't Spanish.
You're right.
You're just making up some gibberish and you're expecting it to be worthy of conversation.
It's not.
Right. So
Apologies.
So go back to your false self, please. Okay. So
people do think I'm bored on the show a lot, by the way.
That's
because
true.
of the way that
you look.
I look when I'm listening.
You have a bored face.
I have a bored face.
I'll get to that.
Okay. But that's my real self. I'm just actually listening, engaging in conversations.
Yeah, I actually feel
I'm not going like, ooh, really?
When I was watching this video, I was like, wow, I've felt kind of cursed my life, feeling like I am very emotional, and sometimes it betrays me when I'm trying to be societally acceptable.
Right.
But like my emotions will come out. And other people have been like, wow, that's super authentic of you to express your emotions so freely. And I'm like, yeah, right, you fucking hater. Like, you're you're saying that, because I couldn't hold it together, trying to make me feel better, right? But really, when I was watching this video, I think that we kind of maybe are outliers, because it says if you were allowed to be your true self when you were a baby, like if you were allowed to cry or allowed to, express emotions freely, that maybe over time you've been able to express that part of yourself, so you no longer have to rebel and you have that inside you that's like aching to come out.
You don't feel the need to cover up everything.
Yeah, but then slowly over time, as you progress into adulthood, you develop the societally acceptable false self, but you don't feel like you're sacrificing your true self for that. You just know what's okay in public and what's not.
Got it.
It's weird though, because I went back and forth watching this, because I was like, okay, so as a baby, I do think I was allowed to do that, but then as I grew to a certain age, like I'd say around 5 or 6, my dad really wouldn't let me cry. Like emotions were unacceptable all of a sudden. So I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't really digested the whole video yet. I don't know if I don't know. Well, like,
you don't know if you're buying the shit yet.
I don't know yet. Yeah, I don't know. And what I like about it is that it was talking about how there has to be a balance when you raise a child, of letting them express themselves freely and throw a tantrum and show that like it's like the world doesn't end, and they also don't rule the world. Like they're
some
not
of this though, man, is so advanced theory and not practicality.
Yeah, I don't know it.
Because like think about having a kid. And you got a kid screaming their fucking head off, and you just came home from work and you're over it, and you're like, shut the fuck up.
But then you didn't let me finish, because it's a balance. So they say like a balance between doing that, but then not like overly catering to them, because then they're in a bubble and they won't learn how to like, they'll just be selfish.
I get that.
I don't know. I don't know. That was a reject topic. See?
Okay.
So these are all my reject topics.
Got it.
I haven't processed it enough to be able to give you an articulate response of how I genuinely feel about that topic.
Okay. Understood.
But just some food, if you want to look into true self versus false self, I'm just giving it to you. I'm just giving you little crumbs that you can go find the whole meal for yourself.
Nice.
Okay. Next thing that I stumbled upon was it was also from School of Life, so I think their like videos just started popping up in my feed like as like suggested, because the algorithm is why you will marry the wrong person. And I only got halfway through because I was like, this doesn't apply. But
what were they getting?
It was about how basically Disney and like things that we watched as kids built this false picture of what love was supposed to be like, and it gave us very high, unrealistic expectations of what a partner should be like, and how easy it should be, and that it should just be given, right? And then it didn't teach us how to actually form healthy, real relationships and get to know someone and like be a good partner for them as well, and all that stuff. And so a lot of people like will marry someone and then they feel unhappy and then they get mad. But he's like, you don't have to find the perfect person, but just like the good enough person, and then you work on it from there. And I was like, well, that's good for people. It's too late,
Good enough person.
Like if you're like, I'm struggling in my marriage, but they're good enough, like maybe you can work on it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you can work on it.
Yeah.
I mean, but man, that sounds really inspiring and beautiful.
Yeah. I had also watched another video yesterday, not today, about people that have a hard time breaking up with their significant other, and the psychological reason for that. And that's that they don't want to put the other person through an hour or a day or two of pain, that they'd rather just never have that uncomfortable situation and just like stay with them because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But then they meanwhile build years and years of resentment, and then they're too old and it's been too late and it's been too many years, and so they don't break up with the person. And it's all because they didn't want to face the couple hours of pain that either they caused the person
days.
Or that person then causes them.
Wow.
And it stems from childhood where when you were a kid and you didn't want to piss off the adults around you because maybe you had a parent that would react really angrily and it goes back to survival instincts of like kill or be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And either you're going to do something that upsets someone so much that they're going to kill you. And to an adult, that's logically not going to happen. But to a child, it's a very scary, real fear that adult could get so angry that they could kill you.
Oh yeah, because everything's black and white.
Very amplified.
Then,
yeah. So like another adult in the room might be like, oh, they're just blowing off steam, whatever. But if a child's witnessing it, they're like, holy shit, that person's gonna murder me.
I watched my brother put his hand through a window, and we told him that we honestly thought our dad was gonna kill him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. When you're that age, you really think that there's mortal consequences for this shit, because I watch cartoons and movies.
Yeah.
And also, dad's very scary sometimes.
So in order to not piss that person off or not make that person upset, you like act a certain way and you be the person that they want you to be, but then inside you're kind of unhappy.
Got it.
And so it's a
people pleasery kind of.
Kind of, yeah, or just more like, you don't want to be killed, and you don't want to hurt the person.
Right.
You don't want to be in a kill or be killed situation.
Damn.
Because you also might have had an adult around you that got hurt easily, or you felt like you had to take care of their needs emotionally when you were a small child and didn't even know how to take care of your own needs. And so you don't want to hurt that person. You don't want to upset. You don't want them to feel sad.
Right.
Because of something that you did.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah. So, there's that too. So I'm very confused, because those were both videos from School of Life. One's like, hey, you could work it out with that person. And the other one's like, yo, if you're not happy, you should go through the couple hours.
Hey, look, everyone's a hypocrite. You could like that.
But I didn't get through the whole video of why you married the wrong person. So maybe they cleared that up by the end.
I understand.
All right. I hope you find the whole meal after these crumbs. Then I stumbled upon a video that was how to be a genius. And it was basically about how geniuses are not these super crazy, brilliant people with superpowers that we have all put on a pedestal.
Correct.
But rather that they have the same thoughts as everybody else. They just tend to think deeper on them. And they're not thrown off by no one else agreeing with them.
Yes.
Yes. They're not thrown off. They actually truly still investigate their thoughts and feelings even when there's no support for it out there.
I don't know that's I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm a genius. I fucking love standing up for something while everyone says something else.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just fun for me. And also, if I think it's even more fun.
True. I get scared and sad by it. Like when I have a thought and no one else seems to like latch onto it, I'm like, am I stupid or crazy or whatever? And I think that's what a lot of people do. And then when I, embrace it, I'm like, oh no, I'm lonely.
Yeah.
Like where I'm like, I almost wish I didn't believe it or feel that way so I could just blend in and feel happier, because some things make me really sad. Like, for example, why people can't just sit and listen to an opposing perspective.
Right. We talked about that recently.
Yeah, we talked about it recently. And I just feel like more often than not, I'm encountering people who think that just by listening to an opposing belief, you have to take that belief system on. And in turn, also, like if someone was watching me and I was interacting with someone with completely radically different beliefs than me, just me engaging with them, I'm now associated.
Yes. A lot of people do that.
And I'm like, I genuinely think this is the problem on why we don't have peace, is that people just like to paint a broad stroke and they don't like to listen to individual people or perspectives. And if someone has a different belief that they're dumb or they're stupid or they're evil or they're, whatever, there's a lot of different labels that put them in a different box than you.
Look at the UFO community, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like until all that stuff just got declassified, by the way, multiple governments all over the world declassifying all this shit.
Yeah.
But the United States, finally declassified some videos that the Navy shot of these flying Tic Tac UFOs. And it's called a UFO, guys. That means unidentified flying object. Like, it doesn't mean it's aliens or whatever the fuck. But we don't know what the fuck they are. We don't know why they can move so fast, how they move that way. We have no idea. And for years, everybody who said they saw a UFO got called like a backwards moron, or like, oh yeah, you saw little green men, and that's not what they said. They say they saw a flying saucer, or they saw an unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
So you can write off people and not listen to them. And then when they're vindicated later, you don't remember that you were one of the assholes who was writing them off.
Yeah.
I've noticed it for a lot of things.
Was it Copernicus that first said that maybe the universe doesn't revolve around Earth? That maybe...
Or was it Galileo? I don't remember. But yeah.
I don't remember either. But it was one of those crazy geniuses.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they got
said,
jailed.
Fuck you. Yeah. the Christians jailed them.
Yeah.
Or Catholics?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I mean, I wasn't there.
Those the guys in robes.
Listen, I heard it one time.
Same.
I retained some of the information.
They shook their scepters at him.
The point still remains the same, regardless of how the story went down, was that he had an outsider's belief. Nobody would support it for fear of being associated with that crazy belief. He gets locked up for it. It turns out to be true. And then he's heralded as a genius. Mm-hmm. But at the time, he was not called a genius. He was just someone that...
He was a fucking heretic.
Stuck up for his beliefs and like thought deeply on them.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Oh, and they also are able to articulate well, which is why a lot of times things that geniuses say resonate with us, because we've had similar thoughts to that. We just didn't know how to articulate it, or why it was coming, where it was coming from, why it was coming from, and it just kind of makes it click for us.
And this is important too, because really intelligence is not always about the ability
academics
to communicate.
or communicate.
Yeah, like so. For example, you totally got it wrong.
I was trying to finish your sentence.
Totally got it wrong. So John Madden is one of the most celebrated coaches in the history of football, right? Mm-hmm. He won, I think, 3 championships with the Raiders, or 2, and he is well known as like being a fucking super genius at football. But when he was in the broadcasting booth, all anyone remembers about John Madden is that he cannot communicate the game effectively. When you're watching the game, he would be like, now what this team wants to do is score more points than the other team. Like that's the meme about John Madden, is that he really couldn't like tell the audience at home what was going on as effectively as obviously he could do to his players in the locker room and like teach them about football. So the ability to communicate something that is different than your knowledge of something. Mm-hmm. It's like how I can hear Spanish and know some of it, but I can't fucking write it. It's just you're good at different things. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes people who are incredibly intelligent don't have the ability or the facilities to communicate what they're very smart about. Yeah. And that can make people think that they're dumb, and that's not true.
Or they do it in different ways.
Exactly.
Like, so you're really good at improv and like being on your feet and thinking like it comes at the tip of your tongue. I feel like I'm much better with writing.
Right.
Like I can get everything out. I can articulate it very well in writing. I can say all of my points and get my tone across, everything in writing.
Yeah. And one is not better than the other.
Yeah.
They're just different ways of communicating the same thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, let's communicate about some sponsors.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Hey, thanks for listening to our podcast. We just want to take a break to tell you thanks for listening to our podcast. And if you want to rate it, that would be really awesome for us.
Listen, we're on break. We're not talking to you like podcast hosts right now. We're just talking to you like people.
As a friend.
And we just want to say, please rate the show because it helps out huge amounts.
Like, we're not desperate. We're like kind of desperate.
We're giving shout outs right now to all the people who are giving it ratings. So huge shout out right now to Brian Jorgensen. That was sick of you, dude. Thank you. God bless. Huge shout out right now to Mark W. in Springfield, Connecticut.
Back to our podcast.
Jenny Blythe.
Hey, back to our podcast.
In Tuscany,
and
Florida.
Back to our podcast.
God bless you. Thank you.
Steven.
Thank you for supporting the
show. All right. And we're back. And the other last 2 videos that I watched were both like listicle type videos. They were from a channel that I think was called Psych to Go. Shout out.
Like Psychology to Go?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Not like psych.
Right.
I mean, that is where it originated from, but people spell it really bad now. They spell it S-I-K-E.
I think that's a proper way of spelling it. Sometimes.
I mean, true. When I was a kid, I thought it was spelled that way.
I was a psychologist when I was a kid, that's for sure.
Psychologist?
You know what I'm saying?
You studied
the art of telling people psych. Hey, you guys want to go out to the movies on Friday? Psych.
Now it's like the thing that the new kids are saying are say psych right now. Say psych right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's like where
psych.
No. Oh. It's like if I said something, it's like you're like shut up.
Oh, I see.
Like, say psych right now.
I thought you were telling me to say psych so I could help set you up for something.
No.
Got it.
The kids are saying say psych right now.
The kids are saying is what we should say
and
in front of everything.
And I know because my Twitter feed is a lot of Gen Zers.
A lot of the youngins.
A lot of the young people I'm learning.
A lot of the youngins in the audience, too.
That's how I stay hip.
Same.
Yeah.
I stay hip on what you tell me is happening. Exactly. And then I say, that sounds ridiculous.
It's a telephone game of staying hip. So by the time it gets to you, you're like, they say period.
It's true. That happened.
Yeah, and it is.
I was actually researching that for a script.
Okay, so the next video that I watched, that was a reject topic.
Yeah.
Still a good topic.
Couldn't cut it.
Just don't have enough to give you, I think. I came across a video called 10 Habits Interesting People Always Practice. I thought this was a good, I don't really like listicles, no offense, but
No offense to all the listicle fans out there. And Gen Z.
I thought it was, I think if you take away the 10 factor, like, and you're just talking about it, I think it's great. And also, like we've talked about multiple times, that interesting people, the thing that makes them interesting is that they're interested in stuff.
And what they're talking about.
And I think Dale Carnegie said that in How to Win Friends and Influence People as well. I think that's where it might have originated. But I heard it first from my acting coach, so maybe he borrowed it from Dale Carnegie. But it's very true. And especially in acting, if you look at some of your favorite actors and actresses, if you watch them in movies, the times where they're most interesting is where they're really interested in something, whether it's solving something or they're interested in their craft or landing the plane. Yeah, like that's what makes them interesting. In this video, it started out with just talking about how you can compare yourself to people on Instagram and how everyone's lives look like super interesting, and then you're like, damn, why am I so boring? And then like how you can change that and not be so boring. Number one is to not be lazy.
That's a fucking suggestion.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy.
Listen, I felt the same way upon first hearing it too, but then it makes sense because if you're never told that what you're doing is kind of lazy.
Okay.
I think that there are people that have just never questioned it, where if you're the one in the conversation that's never contributing to the conversation and you just expect everyone else to carry the conversation or entertain you in some way, just think about like why are you entitled to that?
Well, they also, I think sometimes it's almost like watching jump rope and you don't know when to jump in. I think for a lot of people.
That's different. That's not being lazy.
Okay, yeah.
I'm talking about lazy people that just want to be there, but they're not interesting.
Like, it happens.
They want to be there to be there, and they like other people's company, but then they don't contribute.
That makes
anything.
Sense. Yeah.
I'm not talking about people that are just too shy or kind of like getting their feet wet and like they're.
I'm just covering the bases for them.
Right.
Sometimes
true.
Too.
I'm happy you did that because I don't want you to get it twisted out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the other thing that they said is to do what scares you. Do things that scare you. I think that is a thing that interesting people do, is that they're not afraid to break out of comfort zones, or even if they are afraid, they still do it anyway.
I love that.
And in my opinion, I'm just like, we're only on the earth for such a short amount of time. If you really think about it, like maybe 80 years. And even then, like your last couple decades are probably pretty shit. Yeah. You have a high chance of having some sort of disability in the last few decades. So really, like, let's say you got a good solid 60 years. And then you got the front end that's like teenager. You can't really have control of your life.
True.
So you give me like 45 years.
Yikes, Nikki. This is not fun.
I know, right? But I think of that sometimes when I think of being scared to do something, where I'm like, well, why? And I check myself by being like, why wouldn't I have this experience? Unless it's something fatal or something that I can't reverse, something irreversible that I might like regret greatly later. I think I'd have more regrets about not doing that thing. And in fact, I've read in my 4-Hour Workweek book, I read about how there was a person, I can't remember her name right now, but she wrote a whole book. She was a nurse at a place where either a senior citizens home or a hospital, where anyway, she was dealing with a lot of people that were dying they were on their last legs, and she interviewed them about what their greatest regrets were, and 90-something% of them said it was about not living enough of their like not experiencing enough of their life, not going out of their comfort zones, and not expressing emotions freely. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, like not loving freely and not allowing themselves to be loved freely.
I definitely think that I want to challenge more in my comfort zone coming out of all this quarantine shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I know I never like got radically into stand up, but that's something that maybe I want to do a little bit after this shit.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really thought too much about what I want to do after quarantine, but I definitely love breaking out of my comfort zone like a lot.
Yeah, it put me, and that's not necessarily. I mean, it is out of my comfort zone in the sense that I never like did it constantly like I did with improv.
Yeah.
But it's something that I definitely want to do more. Like that, I'm like, no, you know what? I do want to do it. Actually, I think
that's cool because we went kind of reverse on that, where improv is out of my comfort zone, and I was like, I'm gonna go hard in the paint on it this year, and I did. I joined an improv group after completing like the final improv class, at UCB, and then I joined a practice group, and I was kind of feeling it, and like it always scares me, but I feel like I was getting better at it, and then the quarantine happened, and UCB shut down like all their theaters.
Yeah, and I remember going to your shows before the quarantine happened and being like, oh yeah, I do like this. Like I forgot that I like this. I mean, some people make me not like it, but
yeah,
that happens, man. It's not to beat up on them, but the process sometimes is arduous.
Yeah.
We have to sit there for hours, but that's just part of the game, dude. You got to fucking cut your teeth that way.
I think taking away the end goal, like the end, like being so focused on the end result really made things more enjoyable for me. Mm-hmm. So when I first did improv and stand-up, my end result was that I wanted to be a touring comedian. Like I wanted to do stand-up on tour. I wanted to have a stand-up special.
Yeah,
that was my end goal, and it puts a lot of pressure. So then like the better my shows were going, the more pressure I felt that like I should be at a certain point at a certain time.
Yeah.
And I think once I let that go, stand-up became way more fun.
Right.
And same with improv too, where after I kind of found like where I'm thriving in life, those were just like fun things that bring me joy instead of like a pressure thing.
I think my biggest problem with stand-up has been finding my voice in it.
Yeah.
And now look, a lot of people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? But my voice is very distinct when I'm in conversations or anything.
Yeah.
I know exactly who the fuck I am. But when you're on stage and it's just you and you have nobody to bounce with, it is a much different thing. And I found myself in the past almost, doing the syntax or the cadences of other stand-ups, not me. Not necessarily like a specific stand-up, but just the type of hey, you ever been to a play? I don't talk like that.
Right.
So it's just about finding my voice in that.
Totally.
And integrating that with my type of humor. I think that because of probably like whatever diet depression I had last July, I just never thought that I was in a swirling pit of darkness for a little bit. And so I was just like, you know what? I don't deserve to expand my skill set and do all this cool shit that I actually do want to do. So I do want to do these things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too. Like I think you're super funny, and I think that was like your only problem was you didn't seem comfortable up there.
I'm not myself.
Yeah.
And it's super awkward that I can turn it on anywhere in the world, but when a mic is in my hand,
you also thrive off of conversation and
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's why you never really got into the whole talking to the camera by yourself alone in a room on YouTube either.
Not really.
Like you're thriving now off live shows because there's someone that you're actually talking to. Like you can see like people responding. But when you had Tough Talk, even when it's just you on camera, you still had a crew.
It was me and George.
Yeah.
And Bryce.
And
sometimes.
so you still felt for you like you were having conversation.
Right.
And the hardest part, I think, for you is just picturing it like someone is responding back. Like
totally.
You just fill in the blanks for them and like how they're responding, and it almost makes it funnier if the way you're reacting to them is not how they're responding. Like where you're like, oh, what, you're offended by that? Oh, and like, they didn't say anything that they were offended by. But
and that was what was great about having people in the room during Tough Talk, is I could kind of feel that. But then when I'm alone, it all just becomes more pointless, or I feel like I can't really read the room. Yeah,
you just endowment is the term in acting. That's like, if that's not there, you have to endow that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to endow the camera with a quality of a human being that's reacting to you.
Right. And I've seen a lot of tubers put googly eyes on the cameras and shit.
Yeah.
And which is great. Whatever works for people. But yeah, it's just something that I've noticed about myself that I'm like, okay, I want to work on that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so go out, do what scares you. Carry a notebook everywhere you go.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do that with my notepad. I fucking fill that thing up all day.
You know, with stand-up, that was like one of the number one things is just constantly be making observations.
Mm-hmm.
Even don't think about if it's funny or not.
Yeah.
Just straight up observations. Like, I like the smell of this yellow rose. I think candy is awful, actually. I don't like candy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, or whatever the observation is. And then you read them all back, and there's usually something that will spark some sort of creativity or some thoughts that you never knew existed, or you'll have some sort of opinion on the things that you listed, and it'll start jogging new things, new parts of your brain that you didn't really activate on a regular basis before.
I also think that we tend to make things out to be very hard, and all I mean by that, I'm not saying stand-up's not hard, but we make it so much more complicated than what it really is.
Yeah.
Like all stand-up is people up there just telling jokes over and over again, like different jokes and going through their whole set.
Yeah.
And instead of looking at it like that, I look at it like my previous sets where I'll be up there having prepped all day.
Yeah.
And then I just lose the set.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
You think it's a memorized thing
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than like it is very conversational. You don't have to memorize exact words. Some people do, but like it's more just like hitting the feel and the beat of what you're saying. And like sometimes you'll get in a groove where you'll just naturally memorize that part because it hit a certain way and the audience really liked it when you said it that way.
Right.
And then you'll be like, oh, that felt natural to me and natural to my voice, and you just keep hitting it that way. But yeah, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself to memorize.
Oh yeah, well, because I'll get lost quickly because my mind is very tip of the tongue, and so what's at the tip of my tongue? What's happening right now? Not what I memorized 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
and so that's hard for me to. That's been hard for me to process.
Right.
And get through.
Yeah, I think it's a good block. It's a good block to work on because I don't think it's a huge challenge. Like you'll break through that well if you just practiced a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, there's also things like I'm sure people are like, well, do crowd work or whatever, and that's all fine too, but that's not seen as in the same way as a lot of stand-up
No,
is.
it's like an addition to the set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to have like a bodied set and not just rely on crowd work.
Right. Some people
yeah.
even script their crowd work.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
That's really wild. But good for them, by the way. That's
I mean, as long as
it
pulls off like an organic moment.
If it sounds legit, yeah.
And I also think that, so for me, it's like learning a dance. I did a lot of professional dance training from age 4 to 24. And no matter what type of dance, you build a certain muscle memory. So when you're first learning the choreography, it's really rickety. It's really like rigid. It's weird. You're getting a feel for it. You're messing up a lot. You're not remembering all the steps, but you're getting like the basic mechanics of it. And then the idea is, after rehearsing a certain amount of times, when it comes to performance day and you're doing the dance in front of an audience, you're not thinking about the mechanics of it anymore. It's in your body and you're just feeling the moment and you're vibing with the audience, you're vibing with the crowd, right? And so that's how stand-up is where the initial draft of it is like, all right, and then I'll say, I guess I'll tell the story like this, and then, oh, that didn't really land, and then you're kind of like figuring out the mechanics, and you say it a few times, and you like kind of rehearse it, and then you do a few shows of that set, and you kind of tweak certain things, and then your body remembers it, and like you're just in the moment, and then you can do crowd work because you're just there, you know the set already, you know what leads into like certain bits and stuff. And
it reminds me of when I was in high school and I did plays, and you would just do it so many fucking times that it's just in you. You can't get off of book or you can't get knocked off because you know it so well.
You know it so well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it's like. And the only difference is that it's not a play that someone wrote. You wrote it and you have to tweak it, and you have to be responsible for tweaking it to your own voice and finding what that is. And that's just something that takes shows to do. So I think that's great. I think you'll do great.
Oh, thank you, baby.
You'll kill it.
It's gonna be fun. I'm just excited about it. I think it'll be fun.
You being excited about it is interesting. See, interesting people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You know what it was, too? I was listening to Dave Chappelle's special again.
Yeah.
Sticks and Stones, I think it is. And god damn, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
So, yeah.
I'd say he's easily like number one now.
The best of our time. Yeah, easily.
Yeah. Okay, and then in the same video it was like care about what's happening in the world, and this was like to a certain extent I don't want to like care too much, or I don't want to completely like just watch the news every day all day because it's depressing and I feel like I don't have control over it, but I do want to care enough to know what's going on in the world, you know, to be able to comment on it or have an opinion.
But if you can do it in a productive way. I know a lot of people who get so sucked into that shit that they don't even do anything other than suffer with the news.
Yeah.
And that's a hard
Which goes back to
be.
the Mark Manson quote from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be consumed by the latest big scary thing in the news.
Yeah, what's something that's going to help you in your life?
Yeah.
Like, how about that first above all other things?
The other thing that they listed, I'm not going in number order here, but is be a good listener.
I believe in that so much it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I wish more people knew that.
Yeah.
Like how important that is. Especially, you know, not to get right back into comedy, but damn dude, it's listening is everything in that.
And not just the words, but the nonverbal gestures too.
Mm-hmm.
I read something like there's some, I wish I knew off the top of my head this fucking statistic, but it's something like 80% of language is nonverbal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so cueing in and being able to recognize nonverbal language, the subtext of what's going on in a conversation, and being good, like not just listening to words, but also listening to the whole.
That's where a lot of people mess up with acting too.
Yeah.
Like even myself in the past is you're thinking about what you're going to say next.
Yes.
And get your dialogue out and not how you feel.
Instead of digesting the moment.
Yeah. Or even just like, you know, how people talk. Like right now, I just took a pause before I said my next thing because that's how people talk. Yeah. People don't fucking just go like nonstop, ba 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 ba. Like that's not how it is. So if it's good to pay attention to that kind of stuff because then you can use it to enhance your own life. Not even talking about acting really. It's just you're listening to your partner and you're seeing that they're going through something and maybe they're not verbalizing it. You ever heard acting is reacting? Absolutely. Yeah. I believe in that 100%. It's like you have to take the moment, react to it, and then you say your thing, like, because that's how people are. Yeah, I think so. It takes you a second to, if you're truly listening, you're reacting to something. I love that. Yeah. Consuming new things, that kind of goes along the same line as of trying stand up and trying something out of your comfort zone. Out of your comfort zone, baby. Working hard towards your goals. Mm-hmm. Having goals in the first place to work towards. New goals too. Failing. Yes. Failing at trying to reach your goals. I feel like so many people are scared to try because they're scared of failing, right? But of course. You should just challenge it. Everyone fails. Every successful person has failed a lot. Yeah, no, and I've also heard of people being afraid of success too. Yeah. Like they'll give excuses about what, oh no, I don't want to be successful because I don't want to blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I don't want to have to deal with a bunch of people being fake around me and trying to use me. I've heard all this. I really have. Yeah, that's just a self-sabotage thing. Exactly. Because it doesn't have to be that way. No. I think it was Einstein that said someone that's never made a mistake didn't try enough. Wow. Yeah. I botched it, but you didn't have to say it was Einstein. You could have said anybody. I would believe that. Well, whoever said it, there was a picture of Einstein behind the quote. I like that. They should do that for everything. I know. Just put any quote, but have Einstein behind it, because now I just believe that it's smart. Math is hard. Einstein. Yeah. Right behind it. That'd be great. And then don't obsess or try too hard, because you'll get burnt out, and then that's not interesting either. I think that obsession can be healthy, but it just if you take it to a degree that's nuts, it's bad. Yeah. Because anytime I've done really well, it's because I get obsessed with something. Oh yeah, totally. I think it's more on the try hard factor where it's a spectrum. It's not obsession or try hard. It's where you're putting too much pressure. I think. Oh yeah, that can happen. You're trying way too hard That'll happen if you're writing a script or something and you're like, this script has to be perfect. Every page has to be perfect. Yeah. That's bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not obsession. That's like you're just punching yourself in the dick at that point.
Yeah, it's like perfectionism and no room for error. And then the last video that I watched was signs that you're an HSP, which is a highly sensitive person, which I just kind of touched on that subject last year when I was just dealing with a lot, and I was like, how come it's always like that? How come I feel like more strongly than everyone else that I know? Like I have too deep of emotions. And I came across this highly sensitive person thing. So typically there's an overlap of 30% of the population identifies as being an introvert, and 70% of those people are highly sensitive people. So there's a huge overlap of introverts that are this. Not every introvert is a highly sensitive person. Not every highly sensitive person is an empath. Not every, it doesn't go both ways. But I was looking into what highly sensitive people are, and this video was 8 signs you're a highly sensitive person. I think it was also from Psych2Go. Psych, like psychology, not like the 90s. Yeah. One is that you feel deeply and tend to be emotionally reactive. So you feel very, very deep emotions, and therefore when you hear new things, you tend to have an emotional reaction first before.
Interesting. I'm the opposite, but I do feel deeply, but I don't react deep like that.
Yeah. So there's that. And I'm not saying I identify with all of these, but I definitely feel the extremes of emotions, like the very low ones and like the very, very high ones. All of them make me cry, by the way. Yes.
Very true.
But yeah, I think I used to feel a lot of shame for that mostly because my dad didn't want me to feel emotions unless I was hurt physically.
Hope he's listening.
I think it was his coping mechanism because he's a fucking crybaby.
Yeah.
And he needed
to. Bitch.
He's a little bitch, and he needed to bottle that in because he was raised military.
Yeah.
Which is sad because I think that everyone deserves to feel the depths of all they can feel. And I didn't appreciate it till later in my life when I looked at it more as a blessing than a curse. Because even though I wished that I could control it more, I did go through a period of time where I blocked it off completely, and I'd much rather feel than not feel.
Me too.
Yeah.
I also think that, and this goes with being a man sometimes, people have been brought up to believe that men don't share their emotions and shit. But I think that, I've said this before, but real men, I think, are honest about how they feel.
Yeah.
Including like, people like to say like, hey, I'm a guy, I'll tell you what I think no matter what, right? But like, how come you're not doing that at home with your emotions then? Like if you really are, I tell you what I think, how come you're not telling people how you feel? It's the same shit. It goes hand in hand.
Certain emotions are okay and not others.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not true, and it's not a good trope either.
Like for some reason, anger is seen
as more masculine
and not weak.
Yeah.
Where anger is actually a very weak emotion.
Absolutely.
Because you can't control yourself and stuff. But yeah, so there's that. 2, they prefer to exercise alone, and I never put that together that was a trait of a highly sensitive person. But I remember constantly being like, yeah, a lot of people I talk to are like, I gotta have a partner with me to hold me accountable. Oh, I slipped on my workout regimen because I stopped seeing my partner that was like going with me, or I need a training buddy or whatever. And I hate having a training. I don't like exercising with people. I feel like pressured to be at their pace, also pressured to have a conversation with them when I just want to focus on working out.
Yeah. Same boat.
And I just like want to zone out, not think about anything, and just exercise while I'm working towards my health goals. So there's that. 3, it takes longer to make decisions because you're analyzing each possibility. So even with minor decisions, it's like when you're looking at a menu and you're trying to decide.
That's me all the way.
I think you're a highly sensitive person.
Oh, shit. Well, how long will I take to order something sometimes?
Yeah, you take forever.
I really like to go through it.
And I like to clown on you, but when I think about it, I've established different systems for me because I have a hard time making decisions. Yeah. Like my color thing where I wear a different color depending on the date of the week. It just narrows it down for me so I can pick out an outfit, because otherwise I could spend an hour trying to figure out what I want to wear.
Yes.
And same with menus. I'm a dairy-free pescatarian now, so it very much narrows it down if we go somewhere, and I don't have to think about each option because I'm just this one works for me.
Yeah, for me, if I at all am in my head, I cannot make a decision. So I have to get to the point where I know what it is that I want, and then in the moment, tip of my tongue, that's when I make my decision. Always.
Yeah.
I cannot operate outside of the tip of my tongue. It's very weird, but it's how I operate.
It's almost feelings-based picking.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to major decisions, and this I still struggle with, it can be often hard to pick a career path or a hobby or whatever, because you're thinking of the pros and cons of each possible thing, of every single possible thing you could do.
Yeah.
And I think that I've talked about this before where I was like, I love a lot of things. I love acting. I like YouTube. I like stand-up. I want to write a book. Like I have so many goals and ambitions, and I feel like I need to focus on one of them at a time.
Yeah, you don't want to be a master of none.
Right.
Is the
but I couldn't pick.
Right.
It was so hard to pick. I inevitably picked YouTube. But that was really hard because I was like, feels like what if I make the wrong choice?
But YouTube is a cool thing like that where you can be an author off of YouTube and you can make movies off of YouTube and all this shit.
And you have a little bit more control over, like, if I wanted to act in something, I could produce something to act in.
Hell
if
yeah.
I just found the joy from acting.
A bunch of fucking jokers have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust me.
This one's so me. Paying attention to subtlety and small details.
Oh, yeah.
So you can notice like the color of someone's nails, or if there's a crack in a lamp in your friend's house that wasn't there before, like
Nikki's all over
pick that up.
I'm not.
And I didn't know this was a trait either of a highly sensitive person, but it makes sense because since you're really affected by your environment and surroundings, like you feel more than others. Even little subtle differences can greatly affect you. Like really, it stands out. And you say this a lot, that I can always read you.
Yes.
Like even if you make the slightest little subtle change in behavior, I always know something's wrong because to me it just stands out like this. But
she's got her hands out for those of you who are not seeing it.
It's huge.
Very big.
Yes. And it also bothers me because I feel like this is part of a bullshit detector where I can sense bullshit in other people, or like little subtle changes in behavior when other people are talking or conversing, or they're not really saying the whole truth or something. But other people don't see it as blatantly as that.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I don't want to feel like I'm accusing them of something or like taking it too far when I'm the only one that sees it.
Yeah. And it can lead to standoffness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then you're highly conscious and have really good manners. Like you're just very conscious about how making other people feel good.
Yeah, that's important. I love that. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. And also I'm very conscious when people don't do it back. I'm like, what the hell?
Sure. But sometimes they're not capable.
I know. And sometimes I don't mean it that way. It's just that I'm so highly aware of it.
You're very
like when my dad texts back, no. or whatever with a period. I'm like, why is it so curt and like short? He's not meaning it to be like that, but it's just like, I'm so conscious of making like putting an exclamation point, making it seem like I'm.
Well, your dad's also the guy who's like, I don't need all this newfangled phone shit, and then he gets it and he fucking loves it.
Yeah, you have to understand the person that you're talking to.
He likes that he seems like a simple man, but he's actually pretty complex.
He actually really likes the technology
image
stuff.
Yeah, he likes the image, but he doesn't.
I'm off the grid. I don't need it.
Totally, bud.
Oh, what's this smartphone? Oh, this is tight.
Yeah. Oh, hey, how come I'm going to send everyone pictures of my grandson all fucking day long now? Yeah.
Yeah, he's
fucking
a softie.
Hypocrite softie.
See? Also, he cried at my wedding. I don't forget.
Yep.
So when I was a kid, when I would cry because of whatever, I was like feeling some emotions, he'd be like, you can only cry if you're hurt. And like, are you hurt? No. Okay, you can't cry. So then he cried right before the wedding. And I was like, you can only cry if you're hurt. Are you hurt?
So good. You burned him 18 years later.
Boom.
Or what? Fucking 25
30 years later.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Anyway.
I love it. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate you guys.
And if you want to touch on any of these subjects, those are all.
You can go deep.
You can go real deep. Deep and hard.
It's like we threw birdseed down.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys all flock to it and you see what goes down.
Maybe one day I'll learn more about one of those topics and have a full episode on it. But
yeah.
like the tip of the iceberg for that.
In the meantime, if you share this podcast with your friends, it'd be so appreciated.
It'd be so fucking cool.
Oh, it'd be so fun. And like us on whatever you listen to your podcast. Give us 5 stars. We really appreciate it.
You can go follow us everywhere.
And download the show. It helps a lot. You have no idea how much it helps.
You need to do a lot of favors for us.
Look, guys, we're not
going to give you like that much in return, except for
today.
Our content, our quality ass motherfucking content. Did I not watch a lot of content today?
You
to
did.
Summarize
you put your heart on the line, dude.
I put my heart on the motherfucking line today.
Every day.
Every
for
day.
4 quarters.
I go out.
You put out there 110%.
And I fight.
Yep.
For the people.
And what do they give you back? 5 stars, hopefully.
5 stars, hopefully, on iTunes. And also follow us and also subscribe and rate us.
Thanks. We love you. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.